I know something about you, regardless of whether or not I actually know you. What is it that I know about you? I know that to some extent you struggle with self-doubt. Self-doubt is the number one killer of dreams. It keeps people's lives stagnant. We really don't do the things that we really want to do in our life simply because of fear and doubt, these kind of imaginary feelings that have very real world consequences. So today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite books that covers how to deal with self-doubt. It's going to be kind of a continuance of this new book review series I've been doing. People have been asking me recommendations for books. So I'm going to kind of start with the real foundational staples that kind of help my mindset, form my belief system today, and kind of gave me the motivation to go through and do the things that I'm doing now. And I think that this book, The War of Art by Steven Pressfield, is one of the most foundational books when it comes to motivation, specifically overcoming your doubts. This is a book that I know a lot of people have covered before, but this is the type of book where you need to hear the lessons from the War of Art over and over and over again. You need to read the book over and over again. I've probably read this book a minimum 3 times. Usually I'll read this book, like if I'm going to start to write a new book myself, I'll read this book. If I'm going to take over a really big challenge, maybe I'm launching a product, something that's really going to push my confidence level, take me to the edge of that confidence and really have me in that kind of edge of nervousness and doubt that it takes to achieve something substantial, I will read this book to help me get my mind right and get back to the mission and overcome the resistance, which is going to be the key pillar of this book summary, because that's really what this entire book is about. It's about defeating the resistance. So what is the resistance? So the resistance is kind of it's more of an apt name for self-doubt. The concept of self-doubt seems very benign. Oh, I doubt myself. Oh, I have limiting beliefs. Oh, I struggle with confidence. That's kind of a very banal, trivial way to describe what's going on. And Steven Pressfield, author of the book, uses a much more kind of poignant, eloquent, visceral, dramatic rendition of the word self-doubt, and he renames it the resistance. And he talks about all of these characteristics of the resistance. The resistance is this evil, insidious force that is seeking to destroy the entire world person by person by getting in their heads and making them afraid of doing what they really want to do with their life. And the thing about the resistance, it's not just that it's evil, insidious, and permeates kind of every area of your life. It also doesn't have any personal animosity. It is just this entity, this machine that on the one hand doesn't care about you personally, but on the other hand is doing everything possible to destroy your life. Right? So he has these opening chapters where he talks about the resistance. The resistance is invisible. The resistance is a shapeshifter. It's formless. It'll take whatever form it needs to take to screw up your life. And you see the resistance take form in so many different ways. And I could kind of go in so many directions of how this concept of the resistance applies to life, but it's really kind of the main ill of society, period. And it stretches into so many different areas. So first, you have the obvious resistance that goes on in your mind. Every time you try to do something, anything requiring delayed gratification, anything from a sustained workout routine to starting a business or something creative, you get this voice in your head that starts to explain all the reasons why you can't do it. Why the heck would you start a YouTube channel when there are thousands and millions of YouTubers out there? How are you going to compete? How are you going to go on Instagram and all these other social media platforms and try to compete with these influencers who have hundreds of thousands of millions of followers? What the hell are you doing? 5 years ago, what the hell? You want to be a writer? Really? You know that blogging is just a get-rich-quick scam that no one ever does, right? You know that most writers never make a dime, right? Io, you know that most writers are starving artists, right? You know this is BS, right? Oh, you're going to write about self-improvement, Io? You're going to make videos about self-improvement, the most covered topic on planet Earth? How the hell are you going to stand out? What's so special about you? You don't know anything. Who are you to be telling anybody how to do anything when you suck, right? So that's, I'm being a little bit dramatic, but think of how critical you are towards yourself. Think of kind of the depths of these conversations you have with yourself. And there's this saying, like, you would never talk to another human being. You wouldn't talk to your best friend the way that you talk to yourself. And that's this resistance that gets in your mind through that, that negative self-talk, right? What other forms can the resistance take? The resistance can take, not even the most dangerous form or the most obvious form where you're just talking super down to yourself. It can be kind of more lighthearted, I'll start that business eventually. I'll work out eventually. I'll change my life eventually. That might be the most powerful form of the resistance, is this trick that your mind plays on you that someday your life is going to get magically better out of nowhere, and you're going to muster up the motivation out of nowhere, and you use this to kind of like cope with the fact that you're not doing anything with your life. Because if you had to like face up front, kind of the difference between your potential and where you're at every single day, if you had to confront that every single day, that would be very kind of troubling and difficult to deal with. So the resistance steps in kind of as this phony friend who will make you feel better in the short term, but then when you look up, what happens to people, right? Like I always say, you're not less of a person if you don't accomplish all of your dreams. You don't have a bad life if you don't accomplish all of your dreams. You can still have many of the, the finer things in life that don't cost any money, any status, any rewards, like family, friend, funds. All those things are valid. But oftentimes people will look back at their life and they'll kind of kick themselves and they'll be like, why didn't I start the business? Like, why didn't I start the YouTube channel, the podcast? Like, what's the worst that was going to happen? Why did I let all this fear kind of run my life? Why did I stay stuck in this job I hated all my life, right? And it's because of that kind of eventually fallacy that the resistance creates. The resistance can take, unfortunately, the resistance has a very high tendency to take form of your family and friends, right? So when people don't accomplish their dreams, when they hold themselves back, when they limit themselves, what they want to do is they want to pass that on to you. Because if you start to grow, that's going to point back a mirror at their own inadequacy. I actually read this story once about, there was this workout group of these moms who just had kids, and one of the moms, she just really went at it, started working out 5 days a week. She got in amazing shape. The rest of the moms in the group kicked her out of the group. Why? Resistance taking the form of envy, and that envy turns into energy. Well, people will try to either consciously or subconsciously derail you from your goals. Again, the way to combat this is to simply understand that all of these different forms of resistance is taking, it's not personal to you. So in order to overcome the resistance, you do what Stephen Pressfield says is the antidote to the resistance, and that is simply doing the work. And it's a strange, not even a strange phenomenon, it's very straightforward, but you have all this anxiety prior to doing the task, and then once you do it, you kind of tame the beast for the day. You don't feel like working out, then you go work out and you tame the beast, and you're like, why was I having such a debate about working out? I mulled over starting my YouTube channel for years, and now I've started my YouTube channel and I've shot like 130 videos. How much time did I waste going through all that back and forth about whether or not should I do this? I'll start eventually. The antidote to resistance is always the work. And I talk about this on my channel over and over again. Like what I do with inspirational content, I give you mental angles. I give you a way to look at things. I give you a perspective that can help you cause the spark. But really, no matter what I say, the end thing is you just gotta freaking do it. And that's the only thing that tames the beast. I'm always talking about subconscious wins, subconscious wins, subconscious wins. The more wins you get, you build that winner effect in your mind and you grow stronger against the resistance. So guess what? I don't have a ton of resistance when it comes to writing, when it comes to doing videos, when it comes to certain things. But now that I'm working on bigger projects. I'm working on putting out products, membership sites, bigger and better book launches, reaching more people, trying to take things to the real next level. It still scares me. And I understand that all the intellectualizing of what could happen in the future isn't going to help me reach those goals. I just kind of have to sack up, pull those bootstraps, and do the work. And that's the only way that I'm going to tame that resistance in my mind. So doing the work is part of taming the resistance. And Stephen, Mr. Pressfield, he also bridges that into this concept of turning pro, right? So he actually has a whole nother book called Turning Pro, which kind of elaborates on this concept. But the idea is, if you want to defeat the resistance, if you want to build an unconventional lifestyle, so to speak, you have to turn pro. And by turning pro, it simply means you take the seriousness of your long-term goal, your creative project, your business, whatever. You take the same level of seriousness as you would your job. You don't choose whether or not you want to go to work. You have the incentive that you need to eat and have a roof over your head, so you just go. There's no decision to be made. And you're never going to be successful at anything outside of that realm until you have that same level of attitude towards what you do. I've been writing every day for 5 years. People always ask me for this magical piece of writing advice, and I'm like, dude, I wrote every single day for 5 years on top of having my job before I got it to work and be able to do it full time. There are no shortcuts in this game. There's no room for speculation in this game. There's no amount of information you're going to learn about a task prior to doing the task that is going to be even close to as important as the skills you learn while you are doing the task at hand. Okay? So you have to create the attitude of a pro. And you can do this in very simple ways. Choose a time block where you work on your thing and make it small enough to where you can dedicate yourself to doing it every day, or at least at an interval you're going to be consistent doing it. So whether that's every day, whether that's 3 times a week, whether that's once a week, whatever that medium of the project you're doing, you have to stay to that goal, and you're going to have that professional's attitude, right? And the only difference between amateurs and pros is doing the work. Amateurs believe that creativity, that major success comes from these magical bursts of ideas, or this muse, or this daemon that enters your soul and creates the creative fuel. But you actually generate the creative fuel by doing the work. You don't wait for the process to happen the other way around. And so that's what I do. I have a very workman-like attitude to my creative endeavors. I write down new ideas for blog posts, videos, projects every single day. I'm working on some aspect of my creative business, media company, so to speak, every single day. You know, granted, I take some time off, weekends, things like that, but I do, for the most part, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and I was doing this, mind you, when I had a 9 to 5 on top of doing all of these things. I did it consistently. And it's really the whole process. I've achieved things in my life that would blow the mind of my former self, and there was never some kind of flashpoint moment where everything sort of clicked all at once. It was just I did everything every single day, and then one day I looked up and I had all of this, relative success. And it's weird. You just keep leveling up your perception of yourself as you do the work, and it does become easier, and you can defeat the resistance. But it's going to come back at different levels when you take on new challenges. But once you overcome one really big challenge in your life, you'll see how limiting your beliefs were in the first place. So it's going to give you the confidence to achieve new tasks. So that's kind of my brief summary of The War of Art. One good thing about this book is just the prose is so fantastic that it motivates you. So I really encourage you to read that. There's going to be a link to that book in the description below, so I encourage you to check that out. And while we're on the topic of books, make sure to grab my book, Real Help, An Honest Guide to Self-Improvement. Just go to Amazon, buy The War of Art, buy Real Help, put them in your cart at the same time. It's going to cost you the price of a meal at Applebee's. Your life is worth a meal at Applebee's. So go check out both of those. You're also going to check some of the links in the description, one of which is a free guide that teaches you how to discover your talents and strengths and use them to build profitable skills. Check that out below. Enter your name, put your email in there, and you will be delivered that free checklist right away. Lastly, make sure to like the video, give it a thumbs up, leave your comment, your 2 cents. What ideas, books, videos do you want to see me talk about next? I'll be glad to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you can get brand new videos the moment that they come out. There should be some videos popping up in front of your face this very moment. I encourage you to check those out, and I will see you in the next video.